celebration of Eaton baseball, and tonight what we're doing is we're honoring Jim Danley, because it really is a celebration of Eaton baseball. So many of us are here to celebrate Jim and so many things that have happened in Eaton baseball, but it's so much more. So we've got so many great people. We've got a great lineup for you. See those guys over there in their Eaton jerseys. Great hat, Ray. Coach Danley ready to go. Great lineup for you. So what we're going to do tonight, going to unveil some things, have some discussion, and again, like I said, honor Jim Danley. Before we do that, let me introduce myself. My name is Mike Anderson, class of '83. Thank you, 83 is right there. You bet. That's Eaton. That's Eaton right there. Really excited about being here. I had the opportunity to be a player here, but I also had the opportunity to be one of the first T-ball programs here. Obviously, the field was a little bit different back then. I've had the opportunity to be a T-ball player, a Pee Wee player, a Junior Legion player, a Legion player, a coach with Coach Danley, Coach Herb, Coach Barber. So I've got a good history with it. And I'm honored to have the opportunity to speak tonight and MC tonight. So here's what I'd like to do, some thank yous real quick. Tyler Garrettson and his lovely wife, Morgan. You bet. Let's give them a big hand for putting this all together. Julie Blaskowski, Joey Haythorne, the group that's putting together the Legion baseball stuff, really wanted to make sure that this happened, and they're doing it. So we all know how important it is to honor Jim and again, Eaton. So some other thank yous. Peak to Peak did the catering for us. Who else do we got there? That's good for now. Well, first thing we're going to do is this. We're going to hear from some opposing coaches. We all know Coach Danley. He's not competitive at all. What we're going to do is hear from some of the coaches. A little thing, about 4 minutes, we're going to turn it up here, some of the opposing coaches, and we've actually got Gino here tonight, who's on the mic. Gino Carvajal from Faith Christian. Thank you for being here, Gino. That shows you the respect that they have. So let's go ahead and listen to some opposing coaches on the mic. Here we go.
When you played against Eaton, you knew you were in a different type of baseball game. They had so much tradition, number one, but they had the best of everything. They had the best field, they had the best feeder program, they had the best summer program, and they had the best coach.
I think it's the stability. I think, obviously, Eaton's a great community. People love their baseball, they love their athletics. But I think you get somebody like Jim Danley in there who is just passionate about what he does. And once again, I mean, they had good kids. And they started developing those kids at a young age. I mean, they started them out in T-ball, and Jim was involved. That's the cool thing about being in a small town.
Jim wanted to just create something that kids could be proud of their high school, proud of their program. And the thing that made it special was Jim's philosophy of, he went down into the elementary school level and just went down and started creating the culture of Eaton baseball. Man, when you grew up, you want to wear the pinstripes, you want to be on the field with an Eaton hat. And so Jim created that dream, that vision, as part of, Jim's a master psychologist. Jim poured into kids' lives. He taught players life principles, the foundations of life, having character, being accountable, responsible, self-control, self-discipline. And one of the famous things he always said was, don't let your highs be too high and your lows be too low, because when you played against Eaton, you couldn't tell if they were winning by 15 or losing by 15 because their players just didn't get rattled. I love that. That was fun to watch.
They were fundamentally sound, which we tried to emulate. We also tried to emulate their enthusiasm. I love the way they played the game, and we wanted our kids to play it that same way. The knuckle curve, it's Eaton baseball. You got to beat the knuckle curve or you're not going to beat them. The toughest thing about the knuckle curve with that is that's okay to steal the bases, but you got to get on base first, and that was always the hard part.
I always thought that if I could get Jim's one hair on the top of his head to sweat a little bit, we had done good against them.
So I said, Jim, come up and scrimmage us. And of course, they love beating up on the bigger schools, so he was happy to do it. And the only thing I remember about that day is his pitchers with the knuckle curveball just tying us in knots all day long. Thank you, Jim, for doing what you've done for Colorado high school baseball. You are missed in the state. You taught us a lot about how to run a baseball program.
Eaton always played it kind of old school, and Jim, I think, coached old school baseball. Their uniforms are dirty, and they just played the game hard the way the game should be played. And that's what I always admired about Eaton. And if you're going to beat a state championship, it all went through Eaton all the time. You just had to go beat Eaton. If you beat Eaton, then you had a chance to win one. When January 1st came, we were at it. We were getting at it because you had to keep up with Eaton, because I knew Jim was doing the same thing. And if you missed a day, well, then you might have lost 3 games right there. You know, that's why I believe that his number should be retired, and probably should have been retired 20 years ago, and give the rest of us a chance.
Thank you, Coach Anderson. Appreciate it. I'm not going to spend too much time here, but I just want to use this opportunity. I don't want to talk about Jim and all his accomplishments, his awards. We all know what he's done for Eaton baseball. I want to stand up here today and just thank Jim for everything he has done for me, former players, a guy growing up in this town, not having a direction of where I was going to do, what I was going to be. And being the oldest in a family I was struggling with some financial difficulties, and just really not knowing what was in store for my family and I. Jim gave me an opportunity to play baseball here. I wasn't very good, I can honestly tell you that. I was an average ball player, but he motivated me, he inspired me, he encouraged me to be a darn good baseball player and give everything I could, not only in the game of baseball, but to be a leader for my family. And we were fortunate enough to have 3 more brothers. 3 more brothers to come through this program and be very successful. And I honestly think I was the worst player of them all. My brother there probably was the best player of them all, Mike Carrasco. I would say probably was the best team in Eaton history, and I guess I'm being a little biased there, but I have to tell you that just see what transpired with my family and many other players that have come through this program is unbelievable. I am where I am today because of Jim Danley and his direction. I'm able to teach, I'm able to coach, and it's just amazing to be able to do the things I do today. And not because just of baseball, because of that man's leadership, his guidance, his direction, his inspiration, and just being able to pick up a family and give us opportunity. And that's basically the one word that I can honestly say is, Jim, thanks for the opportunity. You opened your arms up to many of us. You provided us with so much opportunity. It was up to us to do what we could with all that opportunity. And I think many who have been under your umbrella have benefited from that. So on behalf of my family, especially my family and former players, I want to take this opportunity to say thank you, sir. I'm able to teach and coach today, raise a family because of you and your motivation. I got to play other sports in this building over here. I got to play with phenomenal athletes. I'm looking at Joey Haythorne, Bobby Irvin. Those guys were amazing, and it was fun to be a part of. And I brag about things like this. I really do. And I will brag until the day somebody tells me to stop bragging, which I won't anyways. I'll just keep doing it. Because I love this town, and my family still lives here, my mom, and we're big supporters of it, and we want to see Eaton succeed. Unfortunately, Jim, you're not a part of that anymore, but you've opened up a lot of opportunities for people, including myself. So I do a lot of things every day in remembrance of you. So again, thank you, sir, and wish you best. Thank you.
It sure is fun to get kids out here like Ray and feel the passion that they feel about Coach. I think now would be a great opportunity. I do want to share this before I bring up our next guest. There's a long list. There's a really long list, and I wish I could share them all, but I want to share these names because I know they're important to Jim Danley. They've been important to this Eaton community for a long time too. As soon as I say the first name, you're going to go, oh, I know who he's talking about. Bob Irvin. You bet. The assistant coaches here for Coach Danley. They've meant the world. They've meant the world to many people. Bob Irvin, Dave Barber, God rest his soul, Martin Hernandez, Randy Sparkman, Kurt Danley, Dale Hughes, Bruce Braun, Adam Giesick. Yeah, weren't you an assistant coach at one time, my man? That's why I got you in there. And guess what? Our next speaker is Mr. Adam Giesick, class of 2010.
I could speak all night about Coach Danley and what he's done for me and meant to me over all these years. But to keep this short, I want to focus on two things that Coach Danley always told us that I carry with me to this day. First, no matter what you're doing, no matter how big or small the task is, do it right. Do it right whether anyone's looking or not. Second, if you do the things right, the outcome will take care of itself and the success will happen more times than not. These men you are hearing from tonight, and many more in the stands, were the ones that Coach Danley spoke of during practice, after games, and even off the field. There's nothing that Coach Danley is more proud of than the crazy amount of success that these Reds, and again, we're not talking about baseball now, we're talking about what they've done after their final game. Coach Danley didn't talk much about winning at all, frankly. He talked about trying your hardest, talked about being mentally prepared for every opportunity. Coach Danley prepared us for baseball, not just for baseball, but for life and how to deal with challenges he knew we would all face. He admitted to me when I was an assistant coach after my playing days that on days off he would frequently drive by the field to see who was out here practicing, and he knew more than we thought he did. He knew how hard people were working when no one was watching. Clearly, our outcomes at Eaton were unparalleled in their success. Everyone here has won championships, whether it's at the league level, the regional level, or the state level, but often all three of them. But those outcomes were never the focus. The effort that went into everything we did here is what mattered. Coach Danley didn't care if we made an error, if we struck out. He cared about the decisions that we made during that at-bat. If good decisions and just a physical mistake led to a strikeout, he could live with that, and that was a good at-bat. If bad decisions were overcome by good luck, and we still reached base anyways, that was a bad at-bat, and we weren't really learning our lesson. He was never focused on the outcome. He was focused on the preparation for the situation, the focus applied, and the split-second decision-making that we used. The outcome was never fully within our control. So he preached to us, never worry about it. Just focus on doing everything that you can, as hard as you can, to do the things right, and everything else will take care of itself. Lastly, I was fortunate enough to coach with 7 and see the different angle, how much of an impact he made in players' lives. Every issue a player might be dealing with, from losing a relative, to his family going through a divorce, to any other problem that you could imagine. You could tell this man, he would sit down with you on a personal level, and he would come up with a solution. He would also relate baseball and strategy to everyday challenges in life. I also got to see how hard other coaches worked and himself behind the scenes, doing all the scouting, talking through the matchups and strategy. I didn't get to see this as a player because he wanted everyone to be incredibly confident in themselves. But as a coach, I got to see this decision making that went into each matchups we wanted to see late in the game and which ones we needed to save a relief pitcher back for. Frankly, it was remarkable to fully appreciate how much went on behind the scenes to give every player and the team a whole every opportunity to perform at the highest level. In closing, there are so many things to be thankful for, to be given the opportunity to play for Coach Danley and to coach alongside of him. A simple thank you, 7, will never be enough to a man that has taught me so many valuable things about life. These lessons I carry with me to this day, and I'll carry with me for the rest of my life. So 7, thank you for teaching me what mental toughness is. Thank you for showing me what honesty and integrity means and applying them to you and applying them to your everyday life. But most importantly, thank you for being a father figure for, I think I can speak for most of us, almost everybody. You truly are more than a coach. It was truly an honor to be in Eaton Red and to wear the pinstripes because of you.
Our next speaker is Matt Anderson. Unfortunately, we're not related, but I will tell you this. When he was hitting 450, I claimed him as my brother. When he was hitting 250, I didn't know who he was. Matt Anderson, class of 1996.
Thanks, Mike. You've heard a lot of different topics, and all of them root around fundamentals. You hear that word, whether it's baseball fundamentals, whether it's life's fundamentals, and Coach taught us that. It was apparent for those who were able to come last night and see us old timers out here trying to play this game of baseball again. If you remove the LBs around the midsection, if you rolled back the clock a few decades, it was Eaton baseball. A lot of us haven't been on a field in 15, 20, 25 years. We get out there, the knuckle curves were still throwing. The fastballs were still zinging. We could have fielded a team right now and probably made a pretty decent run at the Old State tournament. So that's the fundamentals we're talking about. And it's more than baseball fundamentals. It truly is family fundamentals. I look at my career and where it's gone in the business world. I use some of the same principles Coach taught me. Might have been 11:30, or midnight sitting there in the old left field, which used to be way the heck over there. Hours of discussion and topics. And at the time, all of us were thinking about, there's a street dance that we're supposed to be at right now that we got to get to. And there was a laundry list of items on that little yellow pad. There it is. See, it's still out there that you have to go through. And most of them were baseball related, but in his mind, and what you've heard from the coaches and what you've heard from the other players, was building us into the men to be better brothers, to be better fathers, to be better husbands. And it's truly at the core of where I am today. And I can't say thank you enough to Coach for instilling those. I give baseball analogies on a daily basis to my sales team, and they just know and laugh now when I'm sitting there talking about some big business meeting and I'm bringing up pinch hitters and stealing second. You got to drive this ball in to finish the job. And they just laugh at me, but they know baseball is part of my soul, and it's 7 that really instilled that into me. I was fortunate enough to play here, not on this field. We were on the old field. So, but it's something that never goes away from you. And everybody that's here is here for a reason. There's a piece. Coach Barber, Coach Irvin, they were a big part of it too for me. Bobby, he was one of my first coaches when we were little guys. And you see these faces and it brings you back to where you started. And this is home. No matter where we end up, no matter where we may go, this is home. And it's Eaton baseball and it's family. And that's, Coach, this is your extended family. And we say thank you for that. So, thank you.
All right. So I graduated in 2003. When Tyler asked me to come and speak, the first thing that came to my mind was, I'm going to talk about how we're the best class to ever come to Wheaton because we're extremely competitive. I know it drives Mike Roscoe crazy. So I had about 20 minutes about that subject, but it was too easy, so I'm going to switch that up. I also worked for Coach Danley while I was in high school, and since we all heard a lot of the baseball stories, I'm going to tell the story of how he fired me. So Coach Danley has a farm out by Kersey, and that's probably his biggest prized possession. It's not the baseball trophies, and it's not Kirk and Jimmy. It's the farm. So me and another player on the team, Tyler Tadiyama, were out at the farm, and Coach told us when we went out there, do not get paint on the satellite dish. It was extremely important. He said it probably 4, 5, 6 times. Don't do it. He said, but I'm going to bring tacos out about lunchtime to look over everything. Okay. So me and Tyler start painting. And Tyler met me out there. He wasn't there when I left. And of course, Tyler was on the side where the satellite dish was. And he starts painting away. And I walk around there probably 30 minutes after we get started. And there's probably 4 extremely small drips on the satellite dish. And I look at it, I'm like, I don't think Coach will notice. You know, at this time, I think he's 85 years old, 20 years ago. And I don't think he'll notice that. It's not, you can't really see it in the shadow, so we're probably good. We paint away. Coach brings the tacos. He walks straight to the satellite dish and looks at it, drops the tacos on the ground, told us to get them out of there, and said we're fired. So this is on a Thursday. And I'm like, okay. Never been fired before. I'm 16 years old. So Friday comes, I'm broke. I don't know what to do. I show back up on Monday. And he gave us some more tasks to do. He hired us back on. But the point of the story is Coach Danley always talked about the little things. And that's what we talked about in baseball. That's what Adam was talking about earlier. The little things. Pay attention to the smallest details because they mean a big deal. And the thing about that satellite dish was Jimmy couldn't do his work if there was this oil-based paint on it. So Danley made it extremely important to tell me. I didn't tell Tyler, and I avoided the small details. So he fired us on the spot, made a big deal about it, kind of taught us our lesson. I remember it now. I actually just told the story 2 weeks ago when I was in Louisiana to a guy, and I'll probably tell it 10 years from now. But Coach instilled some great, decision making, and it's something that I'll carry on for the rest of my life. So thanks, Coach.
You know, one of the greatest joys for me being a part of Eaton baseball was when Big Irv and Coach Danley asked me if I'd help with the T-ball program. What do you mean help? Well, will you coach it? Boy, we had these rugrats out here at 7:30 in the morning. We go till noon, and it was the greatest. We had these kids. We had the system down. 20 years of doing it. It was the greatest thing in the world. And for me, one of my greatest joys is looking around and seeing a Bobby Irvin, a Joey Haythorne, Mike Hirschberg, Jeff Sutter. They're my little brothers. I got the chance to coach them on the field and watch them grow. And it's a pleasure to introduce one of my little brothers, Mr. Commander Jimmy Riemann, class of 1988. Happens to be the best dressed guy here, too.
Thank you, Frank. So I've had an opportunity over the past 27 years to be an integral part of military leadership. And some of the core values that were instilled in Eaton baseball still ring true today. Coach Barber, Coach Irvin, and some of my teammates. Coach Danley was at the helm for that. And I'm going to say something that won't make sense at first, but the best leaders are the ones that you don't miss. And what I mean by that is lots of times you'll run into selfish leadership. And the selfish leader is the one who wants the spotlight, the one who wants to be remembered, the one who's got their picture up everywhere. The unselfish leader, the one that you don't remember, is the one who builds a culture. And Frank touched on this, but the way the Eaton culture got built is you push leadership to the lowest level so that it's not about you. The middle school kids were teaching the T-ballers. The high school kids were teaching the Pee-wees. The Legion kids were teaching the Junior Legion kids. And the fundamentals were the same. I can still remember the way I was taught to round first base as a T-baller was the exact same way that we did it in high school. I can remember that the sign for stealing that everyone knows, I hope it's still the same, Todd, was the same when you were a T-baller as it was when you got to varsity. But Coach Danley wasn't the one teaching it. He empowered each of us to teach each other. And by doing that, he created a culture, a self-perpetuating machine that became Eaton baseball. And even bigger than that, and several of the speakers have touched on this, it created a legacy where the young men that graduated from here went on to do significant things. And whether it was in coaching or baseball or sports or education or with their families, it's because the principles that they learned. And a lot of the same things have rung true on the times I've been in combat and all the other types of things now. Those same leadership principles and value for fundamentals are true. So, Coach, it's not that you're not missed. It's that those gentlemen over there right now are living out your legacy of a culture that you built. And you built it by believing and empowering in each one of us. And I think the biggest thing that I appreciated playing here is not just the winning and the fun we had, but what was instilled in us was an intrinsic love for baseball, and more importantly, an intrinsic love and respect for each other. So thank you for that.
Pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome, Coach. Good lineup. You want to change it around tonight? You good with it? You know, last night we had the opportunity to have an alumni game. A bunch of guys come out. Right away, here's Coach, here's the guys. Over and over and over you heard this. Hey, Coach, you remember when? Coach, you remember when we did this? You hear the stories of the guys. Coach, you remember this one? We've all got them. All of us, we've got them. We all wanted to make sure Coach did. I'll be honest with you. I watched Coach a number of times go, yeah, sure I remember that. But here's what's special. Here's one of the most special things for me about this program. And I told Coach Irv, I told Coach Danley this. Each of those 5 guys that talked with passion. They wanted to let people know what Jim Danley meant to them, how he influenced them, the impact that he has in their life. I feel that. And I had great parents, a great mother, a great father. And I had a second father here. I had a gentleman that was treating me like his son. I felt special in this program. He made me feel that way all the time. As I kept going through this program, here's what I learned. So did Mike McKay. So did Scott Renfro. So did Doug Leafgren. He made every kid feel like their son. It wasn't just me. Hurt me a little bit to realize it wasn't just me. But I'll be honest, that's what he's done for people. He has this unique ability to create a relationship and an understanding of your needs. And Jimmy, you hit on it. I'll say this, one of the greatest things, and it's helped me in my coaching career. It's called servant leadership. It's servant leadership. You don't put yourself on the top and work your way down. You're on the bottom and work your way up, and you empower others to do it. That's what Jim Danley has done for this program, for this community, for these kids. And I think one of the greatest things that I can say is this. We've heard it just a little bit, and we've gone a different direction in positive. The one thing that I want to say is Jim Danley's not done. His coaching career is not done. Jim Danley's empowered in my son. He's empowered in Joey Haythorne's son. It's still there because we are teaching what Jim Danley taught us. And that's going to continue for a long, long, long time. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to bring up this gentleman. I'll let him speak in a second after we do a little ceremony. But let's give this gentleman, Mr. Jim Danley, a great big round of applause. Coach Jim Danley. before I give the mic to them, and I hope our boys are ready out there. Tyler, are we ready? Joey, we ready? You got them out there? There they go. If everybody would like to turn their attention to right center field, we've got a nice sign out there. In your honor, a lot of people now call him 7. Coach Jim Danley, well deserved.
Well, for one of the very few times in my life, I don't know what to say. They told me to keep it short out here, and I know why they did it. Because I've been known to grab a notebook like this, start writing things down, and head in there and talk to these guys for enough time to make all the parents mad at me. Because we kept going over and over the things that we didn't do right. What we tried to do is to get things right, as one of the guys said there earlier, and do things as close to perfectly as you can. And if you learn that lesson in life, and you learn to treat people well, you've gone a long way toward doing what's necessary and toward making your own life a happy one. All these people here have made my life a very happy one, and it's been very rewarding. The people of Eaton, it's a stunning thing what they've done. I remember when I first got here, we weren't very good. We were not very good. And we didn't do anything very well, including our fundraisers. We ordered ice cream in July for a fundraiser. We had it delivered right over there. I can see the truck right now, big truck. And we made arrangements, we thought, to have the trailer stay, as well as the tractor, and keep the trailer cold. Turns out the driver didn't know that. He parked it, took off, and we've got a trailer full of melting ice cream. I thought, what in the world am I going to do? And I found out about the people of Eaton right then and right there. I got a hold of a couple of the mothers who got a hold of everybody in town. And before noon that day, we had ice cream and fudge bars in 100 houses, refrigerators, garages, all over this place. The town of Eaton just said, okay, we'll save you from yourself, Danley. This was an unmitigated disaster on its way to happening, and they saved me. What a wonderful group of people. They're the kind of people who do things for you. These people who saved us there weren't baseball moms and dads. They weren't baseball people. They were just folks who wanted to see Eaton people do well, and people with a big heart. You know, we also found out that day the best way to sell ice cream in July is to fill up everybody's refrigerator, every mother's refrigerator, with chocolate bars, and they don't have any room for anything, and they go out and sell them for you. So turned out to be a great fundraiser for us and a great opportunity to see what kind of people that we had here in Eaton. I couldn't believe it. I also couldn't believe it a few years later when we were scheduled to play. The Lamar team, Dave Fasciato was kind enough to send that recording. And we played we were to play his team. They had one of the top guys, number 1 guys, not only in the state, but in the nation on the mound. We're supposed to play him, and we think, holy cow, we're getting better and we're pretty good, but we're not good enough to beat these guys, I don't think. But we might. We're going to give it a go. So we're doing everything we can. We work hard. Everybody's ready. And we get the worst thunderstorm you've ever seen on a Thursday night. And Friday morning, I get a call from Dave Fasciato, and he says, hey, Danley, you got to come to Lamar. We got to play down there. I said, you're probably right. That's probably what we're going to have to do, because it was just a flood out here on the old field. It was just flooded. And I said, listen, I'll have to get back to you. About that time, I got a call from the Haythorns, some of the other farmers around here, and they said, "Hey, we'll take care of this for you." I said, "Are you kidding me?" And they said, "Well, we're going to take a look at it." They came in with tractors, all kinds of farm machinery. We had people that they commandeered from one end of the town to the other, and by 2 or 3 in the afternoon of that day, all the water was gone. They had solved our problem for us, and we got to face that pitcher on our field because of the people of Eden. And by the way, we beat him 2-1 in a game that I think those guys will never forget. One of our first really big victories. But it was the people of Eden that made that possible. This just doesn't happen in other places. Towns don't always do that. Rarely do they go to the lengths that these people do. And almost never do you see the kind of togetherness in a place like you see here. So it was a privilege for me to be here. I knew it at the time. Why would I leave a place like this? Great people. You've just heard from some of them. And that's only a few. There's another 300. Just like them. Wonderful, wonderful kids. And it's been a privilege of my life to be here. And I thank you all for coming. Thank you.
Got it? That's pretty remarkable. I just told him that's the shortest speech ever. You guys know that. Everybody knows that in him. Jim said this. I'll finish with this real quick. 1969 is when Coach Danley showed up here. 1969. With a lot of help along the way. He's done an incredible job. Everything that he's done during that period of time, and I'm going to say it again, it does not end. He's in our hearts, he's in our values, he's in everything that we do, he's in our kids, and we thank him for everything that he's done for us, and the community thanks you, Coach. So, short night, great night, wonderful night to honor you, and we are so thankful that you were part of this program and built this program the way you have. Thank you, Coach Danley.